Welcome to Celestial Insights, a weekly podcast that brings the stars down to earth. I'm your host, astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks. My purpose is to provide practical, unique, and insightful guidance to help you navigate the energies of the week like a boss. Hello, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste, and on this episode, I will discuss the astrology for the week of September 15th, 2024. I am recording this podcast very early because of my travel schedule over the next couple of weeks, and I want to do some astrology in action that occurred while I was in the United Kingdom at the Astrological Association's 56th annual conference. It was so wonderful. I was so well received there. So thank you to everyone who came to my talks or watched them afterwards, and for the organization for having me. And on September 1st, Uranus stationed retrograde at 27 degrees of Taurus, conjunct the fixed star Algol, which when it's highlighted, we often see things that have a catastrophic nature. And then Pluto re-entered Capricorn in that same day, going back to 29 degrees of Capricorn. And then Venus was moving to conjunct the South Node, both in Libra. So there were several stories that were interesting. And I should say both Uranus and Pluto were in a sextile with Neptune. The interesting story was that there's all these new photographic images of the Titanic. And one of the things that caught the most attention was pictures of the Roman goddess Diana, a bronze statue around that's still visible with the Titanic. And the Titanic was one of the most famous catastrophes ever. So with Uranus, you can think about Uranus, sudden catastrophe. It sank almost like a stone. It sank very quickly. And retrograde, it happened in the past. So we're looking in review. And Pluto in Capricorn, the boat is a structure. And there was something about how it was decaying that was discussed in the articles about it, as well as with Venus conjunct the South Node. We can think about Venus in Libra being Diana, the Roman goddess. So that was one story that brought it all together. And the sextile to Neptune rules photography. So there were these pictures. So it brought all of the aspects together. A very sad story, this horrific war in Israel, that 6 hostages, I guess the Israeli soldiers were trying to rescue some of the hostages, and they were killed. They were executed right before they were rescued. So that brings in the themes of Israel is a Libra rising. And so Venus rules the people who are the residents of Israel, as well as the country, as well as its image in the world. Venus and Libra conjunct the South Node, a drain. These people were lost. And the people of Israel took to the streets in huge numbers to protest Benjamin Netanyahu, the leader of the country, and his government for not doing enough to work out a deal for a ceasefire and to get the hostages out. So that's Uranus. Uranus rules revolts, and the people are revolting in the street, and they are essentially bringing business to a halt, and they're furious about these deaths, Pluto, and against the government, Capricorn. And Benjamin Netanyahu's days are likely numbered. We can see with astrology coming up, but I'll talk about that at another time. There's also something horrific. One of the horrors, I should say, of the nonstop horrors of war is that polio has resurfaced in Gaza. Polio has basically been eradicated. So there was a pause to the fighting. Retrogrades, so Uranus retrograde, we can think about or you can even think about the Pluto retrograde re-entering Capricorn. It was this pause in the fighting so that vaccines can be distributed to prevent further spread of this illness. And, Neptune rules weakness of the vitality and things like that, as well as you can think about Neptune in Pisces has associations with medications, drugs. Neptune rules drugs. Pisces is associated with drugs as well. So we see the story there as well. The theme of this week is castles in the air, and there are three big things I would like you to think about as we navigate this week. The first is on Sunday, Mars in Cancer is square the lunar nodes, the karmic lunar nodes, and Mars is in the sign of its detriment at this time. And in Cancer, it answers to the moon. So there can be, and I think I talked about this last week, emotionally driven actions. And Mars is in the sign of its fall. If I said detriment by accident, it's in the sign of its fall. Where it can act in extreme and ineffective ways, but that also can be very harmful. So keep that in mind. Now, Mars transits come in a couple of days early. So whatever things related to this transit may have already happened, but you can think about, so Mars in Cancer is a sign of home, family, and foundations. And you can also think about it related to, nations, people of a nation fighting within each other, or people in a family fighting within each other. And the South Node is in Libra, so there's a drain on civility. And the North Node is in Aries, so there's an amplification of potential fighting and hostility. There's also a drain on people-pleasing and an amplification of being independent, having courage, and things like that. So as you're taking actions and you're getting ready to do something, because Mars can be rash or impulsive, take a step back and stop and think about the nature of what you're doing and these topics of what these signs rule. So watch out for being emotionally reactive, especially in relationships, those one-on-one relationships ruled by Libra. You may have to stand up for yourself or someone else or be protective. These are all cardinal signs. Cardinal signs are initiating. And the image I wrote down for this is someone turns their home upside down, trying to find a lost item, like maybe something was lost. And I got like a misplaced wedding ring, like maybe you lost your wedding ring or something of value that's art or something around September 1st, 2nd or so. And now you're really desperately trying to look for it. Or all of a sudden you're trying to look for a favorite or an expensive dress. And there's like this desperation as you're tearing up your house. I also wrote down someone is tearing up the house trying to find out if their partner is cheating on them and looking for evidence and things like that. And it may be just your imagination and maybe nothing's happening at all. So just keep that in mind. But think about that with the Mars square the nodes, where you come up to a choice point and you can go one way or the other. You can go left or you can go right. And like you're thinking about going right, but I'm suggesting that you hesitate and maybe consider going left instead. You can think about going right, being intellectual, going to the South Node in Libra, an air sign, air intellect. And the North Node's in Aries, and you can think about that being more going left, being more intuitive and instinctual. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, they're all at 6 degrees. So if you have anything around 6 degrees of the cardinal signs of Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn, there more likely is a story in your life around this. And it doesn't necessarily have to be any big story, but just think about Mars, the planet of action, drive, and assertion, as well as it can be about conflict and competition. And just consider that and in the sign of Cancer and weave that together and notice if you see a story. The Birthdate Company makes amazing products, and I am a proud affiliate. I especially love the Birth Date book. It's a fully personalized, beautiful, and unique reading of your birth chart with over 70 pages of detailed horoscope analysis. It is such high quality. I absolutely love it. They also make amazing birth date candles. You can get it for yourself or as a gift for someone else. So check out the store and use my coupon code Celeste10 for a 10% discount. Go to bit.ly/3PW3NFM. You can find that in the link in the show notes. Enjoy. The next thing I want to make you aware of is that the lunar eclipse at 25 degrees of Pisces is on September 17th. And this lunar eclipse has positive and negative aspects to it. The moon is conjunct Neptune, and Neptune in Pisces, there are going to be people creating the best masterpieces of their lives in music, writing, and art. So writing, Mercury is at home in Virgo, where it can do its stuff with ease, and Mercury communicates. The art, Venus is in Libra, its home sign, where it can do what it does with ease. Jupiter is on the asteroid Cupido. So people falling in love with all kinds of different things. Moon Neptune, there's very dreamy energy with this. But it's hard as well because Mercury in Virgo is opposing Neptune in Pisces. So there can be news Mercury of the nature of health Virgo about Piscean weakness and Neptunian weakness. Now, we already know the Boar's Head Company had a listeria outbreak that has killed, as the time I'm recording this, about 9 people. It is just horrible. And part of the story is that the inspections were reduced for various reasons. And you can think about inspections are a Virgoan thing where somebody's coming in and analyzing what they're doing. And this plant was like filthy and things were dripping. And it's just disgusting. And it's just horrible what has happened with this. Also, I already mentioned about polio resurfacing in Gaza. And I should say that eclipses can come in, you'll start seeing the stories about 6 weeks ahead of time. So it's not surprising that we've been seeing these stories. But the thing I really want you to be aware of is about the mosquito-borne viruses. There's this big uptick in them. So if you're alerted to it, please pay attention because this is so in line with this. There being more illness and weakness. Pisces is associated with the 12th house, which is about hospitals and places that people would rather not be. And some of these sloth fever and West Nile virus and this EEE, people are getting very sick. And some, in fact, are even passing away. Be very careful about drugs and alcohol. I would not be surprised if there is a big uptake in terms of drunk driving arrests or people impaired while driving. Take an Uber or public transportation. People will also be having increased psychic experiences. So this is something to be very careful about, taking any kind of drugs like these psychedelics. This could be a time like someone takes a psychedelic, and with Mercury opposite Saturn and Pisces, has a really bad trip. So that's just something to keep in mind. This eclipse is a hard one that's coming up. This eclipse season, Bernadette Brady delineated all of the eclipses based on their Saros series. This season, there's themes of separation and loss and an increase of physical injury. So make sure you're really warming up before you exercise is something that is really important. I think we'll be hearing more stories. Oil is also a Neptune and Pisces kind of thing. So there may be stories around oil. There was one already where the Houthis struck a ship, an oil tanker in the Red Sea, and I believe it's still on fire as I am recording this, and there's concerns it's going to be an environmental catastrophe. It was a Greek ship. So these are some things to be aware of, some stories that are already now, but there'll be others. And for parents, please really speak with your children who are going off to college, especially if they're like freshmen, but any of them, about being careful about drugs and alcohol September and October. And I'm concerned about like fraternities and sororities hazing people and forcing them to drink into states where, they have to go to the hospital or something like that. So just keep that in mind. There's this beautiful energy, but with that Mercury opposite Saturn, there's some people are going to be facing hard consequences, Saturn, for the choices they make, Mercury. Now, the moon phase family of this series, and these are these 27-month cycles. There was a new moon. It actually was in Aries, where the sun and moon were both at 0 degrees of Aries on a world point on March 21st of 2023. So look back and see if you took any action around that time. You can give 2 weeks on either side that had a pivot point or some other kind of action regarding the original story around December 19th of 2023, where the sun was in Sagittarius and the moon was in Pisces, both at 27 degrees. So you see it moved back through the zodiac about 3 degrees. Now we're at the lunar eclipse. Eclipses are new moons or full moons, and lunar eclipses are full moons times 10 or 10,000. However, it depends on whether your chart is activated. They're both at 25 degrees, where the sun is in Virgo, the moon is in Pisces on September 17th of this year. And then the last quarter moon, where the sun is in Gemini and the moon will be in Pisces, both at 27 degrees on June 18th, 2025. The tarot card for the sun at 25 Virgo is the 10 of Pentacles. And that is a very positive card about wealth and stability and family. On the traditional Rider-Waite card, it's like you can see family and there's several generations and there's some dogs in the picture. And the Sabian symbol for this degree is a boy with a censer serves near the priest at the altar. So there may be some news about a religious figure. Maybe the Pope decides to step down or something like that, because I know he's had several health issues. And it also gives themes about how all roles matter in a church or any company or any organization. Every single person, whether they're the boy with the censer or the priest at the altar, we each have a role to play. Also be careful about burning the candle at both ends with this energy. It's really a call to, get enough sleep, do whatever you can to keep your vitality well with this eclipse, because Pisces has a nature of like weakening, and Neptune weakening the chi. The moon at 25 Pisces is the 10 of Cups tarot card. And that's the happy family card. It's a card of harmony and joy. In it, you're looking at the back of the family and they're waving at a rainbow, I believe, on the Rider-Waite version. So both of these cards are very positive on the high road. A new moon reveals that it's time for people to go ahead with their different projects. So there's that kind of like that waving away kind of imagery where there can be some new opportunities for people. And, eclipse times can be times where, there's a breakup of relationships of all kinds. This can be thinking about diversifying your work. Virgo is a sign of work. Pisces, creative. Thinking about creative ways to diversify the work you do. So just really notice the stories. It'll be interesting to see what happens on the 17th or right around that of the nature of this eclipse. The last thing I want to make you aware of is that this week there is a yod to Venus in Libra at 27 degrees and Uranus retrograde in Taurus at 27 degrees and Neptune retrograde in Pisces at 27 degrees are at the base. So a yod is a chart pattern. It looks like a isosceles triangle where there is a planet. In this case, it's Venus at home in her sign of Libra. And she's really close to a fixed star Spica, which is a very favorable star that can give success no matter what a person does in life. We can see some very well-known or very talented people have planets on Spica or angles on Spica, and it's actually at 24 degrees. So there may be some big story around art or culture or beautiful woman or something like that that has to do with the nature of Venus and Libra. And Venus is quincunx, Uranus on one side, Neptune on the other. Quincunxes move us into new situations where we have to release and let go of things. But Neptune and Uranus are sextile each other at the base, so they can kind of work together. And you can think about Uranian things are awakenings, sudden events, liberation, things like that, freedom. Libra rules relationships. And on the other side, Neptune rules things like deception. And it's a planet of illusions and delusions. So there may be something about photographs or films or something like that. Or water stories. Yeah, somebody's probably going to throw paint on some really famous painting or something around this time, trying to deface artwork for a climate change cause. Uranus retrograde in Taurus. You can think about climate change with Uranus and Taurus an earth sign. But yods are, it's like you have been pointed at. And so what's being pointed at is that 27 degrees of Libra. That is the degree of Kamala Harris's sun, as well as Benjamin Netanyahu's sun. It's also very close to the ascendant of Israel. So there may be some story related to that on this day. So think about the yod and what it does. There may be something about poll numbers for Kamala Harris is what I wrote down. Also, I wrote down there could be a high profile money laundering scandal revealed with the Neptune in Pisces and the Uranus in Taurus. And it could be in the art world with Venus in Libra. If you are embarking on a new journey, experiencing a major life event, feeling stuck, trying to make a difficult decision, or just looking to make positive changes, astrology can provide life-changing insights. There are several ways to work with me. You can come for a 60 or 90-minute astrology consultation depending on your needs. Engage in longer-term cosmic success coaching where we work together on a 3-month basis to help you overcome blocks, improve your life satisfaction, build better relationships, accomplish your career goals, and understand yourself better using the tool of astrology. Or mystic mentoring if you're an aspiring astrologer and want help with chart analysis techniques. Go to astrologybyceleste.com to check out my offerings. If you have any questions, you can email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com. On Sunday, the word of the day is bear. And I don't know if you're aware, there was this big social media thing earlier in the year that was, kind of tongue in cheek. Would you rather be alone in the woods with a woman, be alone in the woods with a bear or a man? And a lot of women were like, I choose the bear. I would choose the man. But anyway, this just came to me with the nature of this week. But you can think about bearing burdens or weight-bearing objects, maybe something that comes up. We start the week with the moon in Aquarius, and it has really nice trines to Jupiter and Venus. And you can think about how Aquarius is the collective, it's friends and things like that. It rules groups and organizations like parliaments and Congress and such. And this is the day Mars squares the node. So Mars in Cancer squares the south node in Libra and the north node in Aries, all at 6 degrees. On Monday, the word of the day is slumber. Be careful with medications. This could be another thing that happens with this lunar eclipse. With the moon conjunct Neptune, people will be getting confused. And somebody maybe takes 2 Ambien by mistake, or or double doses on their medications. The moon enters Pisces at 2:38 a.m. Pacific time. Pisces is mutable water, these two fish swimming in opposite directions. Music is medicine. Beautiful time to be listening to beautiful music. On this day, Venus in Libra opposes Chiron in Aries. They're both at 22.5 degrees of their respective signs. 22.5 is a world point. There's likely going to be some big story of the nature of Venus in Libra and Chiron in Aries. Chiron's the wounded healer. Maybe some big domestic violence story will make big news with Venus opposite Chiron. Libra rules relationships, so the domestic violence could be something that comes up. Now, Chiron can wound and heal at the same time. There could be a big story out of Israel or about the USA election at this time. Israel, because Israel's a Libra rising. The US, because the 10th house of the United States, which rules the executive branch, the midheaven is literally like the president, is a Libra. So there could be something very visible in the United States that happens. Maybe there'll be another debate or something going back and forth with Trump and Kamala Harris on this date is possible. But something else that I'm getting, well, it's with this eclipse. People may be becoming aware that someone in their life either has a drug or alcohol problem or a memory loss issue. Like someone may be realizing their parent has Alzheimer, or their mother has Alzheimer with Venus, or someone may be realizing, because Chiron in Aries rules the head and a wounding of the head. And somebody may be realizing that, oh my God, I am having memory loss issues. And it could be from, dementia, Alzheimer's, or one of these, mosquito-borne diseases. This EEE disease causes neurological problems. Or you're just getting older and you're like, why can't I remember anything? So think about that with this day. But it's a great time to get extra rest, with the word being slumber. On Tuesday, the word of the day is bummer. There could be some health news. The moon will meet Saturn. The moon rules the people, and Saturn is restrictive. In Pisces, it could be about physical weakness. And Mercury in Virgo, Mercury news about Virgo health is sesqui-square Pluto in Capricorn. Yeah, so it could be something age-related. Now, there also could be like some new medication that helps people who are suffering from memory loss issues. And this is a day of the lunar eclipse at 25 Pisces at 7:34 p.m. Pacific time. Now, someone is also going to be becoming aware that their partner is cheating on them with that Venus at the tip of Venus and Libra at the tip of a yacht. Because when the aspect perfects, like we walk into the Neptune, we walk into the fog, and then we walk out the other side and can see clearly. I can see clearly now the rain has gone is a song to think about with this lunar eclipse. Things will be coming to your conscious awareness. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend stepping out on your partner because you could very well get caught with this because there's going to be a full visibility. On Wednesday, the word of the day is foot fetish. So somebody's partner may be telling them about their fantasy about what they want to do with their feet. And I say this because Mercury, which communicates in Virgo, is opposite Saturn in Pisces. And Saturn in Pisces rules the feet. They're both at 15 degrees of their respective signs. We had the full moon conjunct Neptune. Neptune is a planet of fantasy. or some other thing that they'd like to do in the bedroom that is just a little, comes as a little bit of a surprise to you. You weren't aware of it until they articulated it to you. The moon enters Aries at 2:23 a.m. Pacific time. I love an Aries moon. It is fiery and feisty. Great initiating energy. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, so there's always something ending, and there's going to be big endings with the lunar eclipse. But then the moon goes into Aries, and you're ready for a new start. Now, if there's some kind of domestic violence issue, the moon goes into Aries, and someone's in survival mode. So you can think about that. Or there's some kind of problem on water, like there's a shipwreck or something. And, the people are, where's the lifeboat? Where's my vest? And all that kind of thing. On Thursday, the word of the day is pearls. And I get the image of someone clutching their pearls or pearl necklaces. Think about how it takes grit to make a pearl. Kamala Harris wears pearls often. The sun in Virgo is trine Uranus in Taurus, both at 27 degrees. And Uranus is conjunct Algol, so we may be seeing themes about the Lilith symbology of Algol. I'm getting like a woman who will not be subservient. And the sun spotlights things. It rules rulers. Virgo is has to do with health. And then Uranus can be something shocking. Taurus rules the body, also can be about like financial things. So notice if you get an unexpected gift around this time, especially notice if you see Medusa mythology with the hair that looks like snakes, because that's Algol symbology as well. You may have feelings of separation. Uranus can bring feelings of separation, liberation, freedom. There may be a spotlight on financial malfeasance, leader deposed somewhere. Benjamin Netanyahu's chart is really activated at that lunar eclipse, and I wouldn't be surprised if the people of Israel take him out. Yeah. I also wrote down the Kennedy family. There may be something that comes up of the nature that is a spotlight on that. This is a day the Fed is expected to cut interest rates. You can think about Uranus in Taurus, making sudden changes in Taurus about the monetary policy. Taurus has associations with money. So this is a big, big day. And so we'll have stepped through the lunar eclipse and know the Fed has said they're going to cut it, but we don't know by how much. And we'll find about how much on this date. And yeah, we'll see. Friday, the word of the day is release. The moon enters the sign of Taurus at 2:02 a.m. Pacific time. The moon is exalted in this sign where it can do what it does with ease. Great time this weekend to have some simple pleasures, great meals, get a massage, make love, all of those kinds of things. Get yourself flowers. Mrs. Dalloway said she would buy the flowers herself. I think that's the first line of Virginia Woolf. Venus in Libra is conjunct Uranus in Taurus. And so this is on Kamala's sun, Venus in Libra. So we'll see if there's some story. There may be something that comes in from the blind spot for her, or some kind of surprise, like potentially Venus in Libra. Being a Venus on your sun is nice. Yeah. So it might be like, ooh, and Uranus rules elections. Or maybe she's just giving a speech about women's reproductive rights or something like that. The sun in Virgo is opposite Neptune retrograde in Pisces. They're both at 28 degrees. So a spotlight on health matters and weakness or drugs or things like that, or a spotlight on the organizational. Virgo organizes and analyzes. Deception can come to light with this. On Saturday, the word of the day is deflection. We have a disseminating moon at 13 degrees of Taurus at 12:26 a.m. Pacific time. Disseminating moons share what you have learned over this moon cycle of the nature of, like maybe you got some great budgeting tip. Taurus rules resources, or some new app that helps you with your funds or something like that. Or maybe you got some great new sauce or recipe you want to share with people. Mercury in Virgo squares Jupiter and Gemini. They're both at 20 degrees. And this is a really interesting aspect because Mercury's at home in Virgo and Gemini. So it's like you're trying to get something done or communicate something or asking Mercury, a benefactor, Jupiter, for something. And you're trying to it's called pushing virtue. You're like trying to push your will on them. But Jupiter doesn't want Virgo because that's the sign of its detriment. So there's this tension, there's this clash, and somebody there may be some deflection about what you want. So just notice how that shows up if you see it. Venus in Libra is king conjunct Neptune and Pisces at 28 degrees of both. So it's like, you asked for this, and it's like, oh no, look over there. And then they're trying to distract you or deflect from the thing. Yeah, that's what I got. The sun in Virgo is trine Pluto and Capricorn at 29 of each sign. That's a degree of crisis and decay. The sun rules the ruler, celebrities. The sun is the one, the moon is the many. And yeah, this could be you look at some celebrity, they pop up on your phone and you can't believe how much they've aged over the time. Or you look at yourself in the mirror, sun can be like looking at yourself. Sun rules the ego and you're like, oh my God, look at how I've aged or something like that. Or there could be a spotlight on your health for some reason. So anyway, if anything comes up around eclipse season, just make an appointment with the doctor right away. Don't hesitate. So that's it for this week's episode. Feel free to email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com with any astrology and action stories. Or let me know how the daily themes are playing out for you. Take good care and I'll catch you next week. Thank you for listening to Celestial Insights. To learn more about my work, please visit my website, astrologybyceleste.com, where I offer personal readings, horary consultations, cosmic coaching, group events, and classes to help guide people to higher levels of fulfillment. You can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook at Astrology by Celeste. If you enjoyed Celestial Insights, please help others find the show. Follow, rate it 5 stars, or write a nice review. I would so appreciate it. I'm astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks, and I'll be back next week.